Okay, so we will get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending the Supporting Certified Teacher Registered Apprenticeship, also known as CTRA programs in Pennsylvania Bidders Conference. The information is being presented to you by the Bureau of Workforce Development Administration, also known as BWDA. I am Kathy Benyak, a Workforce Development Analyst too with BWDA, and joining me today is also Christina Ramos, another Workforce Analyst too. We will both be managing this grant. In addition, we have other guests with us today: Brenda Dubstat, Director of BWDA, Gordon Zook, Grants and Fiscal Division Chief, Jennifer Reams, Grants Division Supervisor, Dr. Courtney Golden, Director of the Bureau of Director of the Bureau of School Leadership and Teacher Quality with PDE, Tara Lowe, Director of the Apprenticeship Training Office, Megan Garland. I'm sorry, Megan. I had to take a look to find your last name. Megan Garland with our fiscal department, who is stepping in for Chris Barrett today. And also assisting is Erica Strang, along with other colleagues from the Grant Services Unit. As I stated earlier, today's session is being recorded. By participating in this session, you are consenting to the recording, retention, and use of this session. Just a reminder, Pennsylvania is a two-party consent state. As required by law and adherence to Commonwealth policies, we do not consent to any recording or transcription of this meeting, including artificial intelligence recordings, notes, and including any third-party applications. The purpose of this meeting is to provide you with information regarding the Supporting Certified Teacher Registered Apprenticeship Programs in Pennsylvania Grant Opportunity, also known as CTRA, as well as to allow you to ask questions at the conclusion of this presentation. I will not be covering all the details of the Notice of Grant Availability, also known as the NGA, as the Bidders Conference is intended to provide an overview. Please read all disclaimers, allowable and disallowable costs, and all other components of the NGA in its entirety. The information provided in this presentation cannot replace your complete and thorough review and understanding of the NGA. I kindly ask that you hold all questions until after we go through the presentation and that you place yourself on mute. We will leave time at the end of the presentation to respond to questions you may have. For now, please place your questions in the chat. If you need to unmute and are connected by phone, press *6. Otherwise, select the microphone icon. Now we'll get started with a brief overview of the grant. The purpose of the NGA is to support schools throughout Pennsylvania facing significant barriers to staffing qualified teachers. Specifically, the CTRA NGA aims to meet the educator staffing needs of rural, suburban, and urban areas, build a diverse workforce representative of the students served, offer a certification process, and offer educators access to high quality and relevant professional development opportunities. To support this goal, Pennsylvania's Department of Labor and Industry Bureau of Workforce Development, through federal WIOA state activity funding, has made available $4.2 million in funding for the Supporting Certified Teacher Registered Apprenticeship Programs, also known as CTRA, grant awards. The development of the CTRA is in alignment with PDE's outlined educator workforce strategy. The overall goals of the CTRA grant is to solicit applications from organizations and entities to act as sponsors or intermediaries of proposed teacher apprenticeship programs with the intent to build and register new programs. These funds will be awarded competitively to support the development of the new CTRA programs as follows: up to $400,000 serving one local education agency, LEA, or school district, and up to $600,000 will be awarded to an eligible grantee with the intent to serve 2 or more LEAs or school districts. Grant opportunity goals. A CTRA will use a competitive process to award grants to sponsors, also known as applicants, whose proposals will meet the challenge of building a well-prepared pipeline of teachers in historically underrepresented and underserved communities, thus supporting schools throughout Pennsylvania facing significant barriers to staffing qualified teachers. The CTRA initiative will focus efforts to enroll 40 to 105 apprentices and establish between 7 to 10 CTRA programs during the period of performance. So who is eligible to apply? Organizations who plan to serve as sponsors or intermediaries of proposed and or existing teacher, elementary and or secondary apprenticeship programs, and intend to build and register programs or support recruitment in already existing programs, and have partnerships to support the project goals, and their initiative must align with a school district, and the district must be a partner in the program if the district is not the program sponsor. Sponsors will have the full responsibility for the administration and operation of the program. Additional criteria. Apprenticeship programs funded by this grant must be registered with the Commonwealth. Awardees will have until 1 year from the contract start date to finalize the registration or show progress towards the finalization of the registration, and within 1 month of the start of the period of performance, grantees are expected to initiate contact with and continue to meet with representatives of the Apprenticeship Training Office, the State Apprenticeship Agency, to establish, develop, or expand the apprenticeship associated with this grant. Apprenticeship programs funded by this grant must be registered with the Commonwealth. To provide additional information on this process, we welcome Tara Lowe, Director of the Apprenticeship and Training Office, to share information regarding the process. Welcome, Tara.
Thanks, Kathy. So we can't possibly go over all the intricacies of registered apprenticeship, but just to kind of set a very, very brief baseline, registered apprenticeships have 5 key components. They are a paid job, they have on-the-job training, they have related technical instruction, which is the theoretical study behind the practical application of that study, which in fact would be the on-the-job training. There is mentorship as well as credentials. And although registered apprenticeship in itself results in a nationally recognized credentials, we know some of the best programs also incorporate other industry recognized credentials, even degrees, like, for example, the teacher apprenticeship program. So we actually have taken the apprenticeship framework, and through the work that was done with CSIU, and put a lot of really great information into a certified teacher apprenticeship website. So I believe that link that Kathy has here in the slide will link to the certified teacher registered apprenticeship website. It is really taking kind of the benefits of registered apprenticeship and putting it in an education lens. It's also outlining the 6 occupations that we have in fact made apprenticeable for the education and teacher sector. So all of that is outlined there, and eventually the templates will be made available there. However, my disclaimer, and TJ, our wonderful education rep, will comment on this as well. We do ask that you engage with us sooner rather than later before actually trying to plug your information into the templates. That is, in fact, what our representatives are here to do. I believe you can go to the next slide here, Kathy. So as Kathy already kind of went over, apprenticeship programs funded by this grant must in fact be registered with the Commonwealth. We are the state apprenticeship agency. We oversee all the policy, program development, and compliance efforts for all registered apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And there is 1 year from contract start date. I will say I do believe this is going to be much quicker than 1 year, as most program registration is, but especially because there is a framework. Once you engage with us and once the period of performance does start, our representative will have you utilize those frameworks depending on what occupations you hope to register, and will quickly plug in your particular information and customize to your needs. So this process should be relatively quick. The last thing I will kind of sort of close with as well is, again, for us, we highly recommend that you engage in the apprenticeship process sooner rather than later. I would recommend to anyone on this call to attend a registered apprenticeship orientation as soon as possible. TJ will again reiterate this later in the presentation. But even if you're not officially starting to build your program yet, this will give you some of the key kind of foundation building and understanding to how registered apprenticeship works. So you do that by actually filling out an information request form. You can say within that form you're interested in building a teacher apprenticeship. You will then attend the orientation and then be connected with TJ. Again, if you don't want to start building your program out, which is what I would recommend until the performance period starts, minimally this will give you a really good foundation and assist you in building out your proposals along with that information found in that website. Some other great resources for you as well, especially if you're not familiar with apprenticeship, whether that be teacher apprenticeship or not. We have a really fabulous website. There is also a full resource page. There's over 100 resources on there. It gives you the basic information. It talks about the required partners in apprenticeship. It gives you the very basic template information for what that registration paperwork entails and includes regulations, etc. I would highly recommend you utilize this link, go to our main website, and also look at the resource page. Even if you don't have the link, you can simply Google PA Career Link apprenticeships, and our main web page should be what comes up for you.
Okay, thank you, Tara, for that. Moving on. So at this time, we're going to welcome TJ Warholic, Apprenticeship and Training Representative for the Northern Region with LNI's Apprenticeship Training Office. There on the screen, you will see the link to the Supporting Certified Teacher Registered Apprenticeship, the CTR program. That is also posted as an additional resource that Tara had mentioned. So with that, TJ?
Hey, Kathy, thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to have everyone here and excited about this project. So I'm going to introduce here the occupation pathways we've developed so far. We've worked with our grantee and various entities, including PD, design occupation pathways and templates that can be utilized for registered apprenticeship. You'll see the various pathways we've adapted on the screen right now. The templates are in the process of being completed and finalized, but they will be available on our webpage that was already mentioned. The link is in the chat. It will also be in this presentation. And those will be resources for organizations to utilize and adapt as a tool to build programs. Now, Tara did already touch on this. Although these resources will be available for organizations to use, we still ask that you engage with the Apprenticeship and Training Office as soon as possible. It is important that you take the steps to attend our orientation and be assigned an apprenticeship and training representative. That way we can start working with you and assisting you through the steps of the registration process. And then this will ensure that we are there as resources from the beginning as you're working through the process of registering the apprenticeship program. And then I will now turn it back over to Kathy.
Okay, thank you, TJ. So at this time, I would like to, I should say the development of the CTRA was also in alignment with PDE's outlined educator workforce strategy. So at this time, we would like to welcome Dr. Pokorny Golden of PDE to share more information that supports us supporting certified teacher registered apprenticeships, also known as CTRA. So welcome, Dr. Pokorny Golden.
Thanks for having me. The sponsors, at least for, thank you so much. I was going to look over there. PDE overview that I want to go over in terms of what our sponsors and RTIs need to complete for the Pennsylvania Department of Ed approval. And by the way, RTI in terms of higher ed, that would be in many cases an EPP or an education preparation provider. Or it could be, in many cases, an IU as well, because we approve both post-baccalaureate programs and what we call undergraduate or pre-baccalaureate programs. So the first thing that you would need to do is once you've completed your application, you can then forward that. And I know I gave my email address to Kathy, but one of the things I wanted to say is that would be the it's ra-ed-bsltq@pa.gov. I can put that in the comment section later. In any case, once you do that, you can forward that to that email address, your application. And what we'll do is we will meet with you, and that will be myself and Dr. Katina Moten. We'll meet with the RTI and the sponsor to discuss the application. And we will then tell you whether we think you need to consult with Middle States, or you can do that on your own beforehand. Either way is fine. But you need to consult Middle States Commission on Higher Ed if you are doing a pre-baccalaureate or what we would call an undergraduate program. You also need, at that point, once we meet with you, you'll procure a letter from us verifying that your program has been approved for an apprenticeship. So that letter will then be part of your ATO application when you turn in your registered apprenticeship application. Those steps don't take very long. Obviously, if you reach out to the Middle State Commissions on Higher Ed, that might take a little longer because that is outside of PDE. But as far as getting you through the process, as long as you currently have an approved program with PDE, the process is rather easy, and you'll be able to get through it rather quickly. So I just wanted you to know that the process itself is not very daunting. It's just to ensure that you are using the same program that you've been approved for by PDE for your registered apprenticeship program. But thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Dr. Picorni Golden. We appreciate you being here and your team. I'm not sure if any of them have joined us, but please extend our thank yous to them.
Thank you.
So back to the criteria. So additional criteria. Projects also will include recruit participants from underrepresented populations, recruit participants with emphasis on those who reside and or work in low to moderate income communities, and address the severe teacher staffing challenge impacting Pennsylvania. Continuing on, projects will also build a pipeline of well-prepared teachers with an emphasis on subject areas most impacted by staffing shortages, focusing on special education, English language learners, foreign languages, general elementary, English language arts, mathematics, and science. It will also address teacher staffing challenges in schools, serving high proportions of students living in poverty and students of color, enhance outreach to school districts throughout the Commonwealth, increase regional collaboration to support teacher needs within the education sector, connect job seekers to local teaching opportunities, create sustainable programming for future use, encouraging support for the development of workplace accessibility as it relates to the physical and digital environment. Sponsors will have the full responsibility for the administration and operation of the program. Additional eligibility criteria includes providing or obtaining a PA vendor identification number, and no grant will be awarded without one. If you need to apply for one, the NGA includes instructions for doing so. You must also have a unique entity ID. It's a 12-character alphanumeric ID assigned to an entity by sam.gov. For assistance in obtaining a new unique identity ID or to identify an existing unique identity ID, refer to the links and resources section within the NGA document. You must agree to comply with the BWDA Workforce Grant Agreement. Please see the NGA for a complete list of eligibility criteria and required activities. So the goals and outcomes. A successful project will include a focus on measurable and verifiable outcomes, which must specifically, in this CTRA NGA, aim to meet the staffing needs of rural, suburban, and urban areas, build a diverse workforce representative of the students served, offer a teacher certification process, and offer educators access to high quality and relevant professional development opportunities in our Commonwealth. Required activities to achieve the outcomes are the following are the types of services and/or activities permitted that would be necessary for successful program delivery. They include development or expansion of a CTRA program in Pennsylvania, serve at least 4 apprentices in a new or expanded CTRA program serving a single school district or LEA, CTRA program serving 2 or more districts or LEAs, will serve at least 15 apprentices during the grant period, identify appropriate certification and credentialing requirements for the Certified Teacher Apprenticeship and the RTI providers. You must create a sustainable plan to ensure success of the program. Successful outcomes and proposals will result in at least one of the following series of outcomes being met. Development or expansion of a CTRA program that supports at least 4 apprentices during the grant period with the intent that 80% remain active apprentices and/or successfully complete the program during the grant period. Development or expansion of a CTR program serving 2 or more school districts or LEAs that support at least 15 apprentices with the intent that 80% remain active apprentices and/or successfully complete the program during the grant period. L&I anticipates the period of performance to be July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2027. These grants are 100% funded through federal WIOA funding. Grants are awarded on a competitive basis and funded based on availability of grants or availability of funds. My apologies. Evaluation criteria includes an initial review and merit review. Prior to a comprehensive evaluation, L&I will perform an initial review to determine that the grant application has been received by the deadline, the applicant is eligible to apply for the grant, and all mandatory components of the grant application have been received. For the merit review, applications will be scored on how well the proposal meets the following criteria: project design and management plan, performance outcomes, impact and sustainability, stakeholder engagement and partnership, and other selection factors and priority considerations. Final piece would be the budget and budget justification. Just a reminder, L&I reserves the right to take a prudent approach to making and dispersing an award. For the project design and management plan, please identify the challenges to be addressed within the school district or LEA. Describe the capacity and resources the local school district or local education agency will dedicate to developing the apprenticeship program. Describe in detail the project timeline by creating a roadmap to include implementation steps necessary to achieve outcomes and plans for long-term sustainability. For performance outcomes, describe in detail the desired outcomes of the proposed initiatives and how the outcomes will be measured. Describe the metrics that will be used to show impact and success of the program to include the number of participants, including demographics and ongoing participation, performance outputs which quantify project activities, program outcomes which measure the overall impact of the project had on the participants. Regarding impact and sustainability, describe how proposed activities will promote the Certified Teacher Registered Apprenticeship and identifies any certifications and/or credentials to be obtained by participants. Identify the impact of the programs and partnerships developed. Describe the applicant's capacity to track and report on program data. Include a sustainability plan describing how the partnership will sustain this work in the future, including after the grant period ends. For stakeholder engagement and partnership, identify key partners and their responsibilities. The initiative must align with the school district, and the district must be the partner in the program if the district is not the program sponsor. Identify the ability of the applicant to implement grant responsibilities of identified partners. Other selection factors and priority considerations. Priority consideration will also be given to initiatives that focus on the following, which are specific to this grant opportunity and need to be addressed within the project narrative. New and previously unfunded initiatives, initiatives utilizing a group model, proposals demonstrate a commitment to serve and increase access for historically underrepresented and underserved students, workers, businesses, and communities. Other factors and priority considerations continued. Design, creation, adjustment, and upgrade of environments and services to support both physical and digital accessibility for apprenticeship participants in the work environment. Applicants who demonstrate collaborations with labor unions to support apprentices. And to meet this priority consideration, the labor union must either be the grant applicant or must provide a letter of support outlining specifics related to their involvement in this project. For budget and budget justification, you should tie back to the proposal. Items not discussed in the proposal cannot appear in the budget. Review the documentation needed tab of the GFRP. Include the following: a detailed list of budget line items by cost category to reflect requested and leveraged funds, a detailed narrative for each cost category, clearly explaining how each line item supports the stated deliverables of the project. Include a detailed rationalization for the proposed line items, quantities, and costs identified. Reminder, at minimum, $15,000 per apprentice must be used to offset on-the-job training and/or related technical instruction costs and provide wraparound support services. A minimum of $60,000 should be allocated for projects intending to serve at least 4 apprentices, or $225,000 should be allocated to serve at least 15 apprentices during the grant period. Applicants must obtain and download the official NGA required documents from the L&I Grants website listed in the Links and Resources section. Completed application packages must meet the formatting specifications and include the required documents. Sample documents are included within the appendix section of the NGA for applicants to use as a reference. Complete applications will include 9 forms and documents. Evaluators will only review 13 pages of appendices A, B, and C, even if the application exceeds that amount. Letters of support, budget forms, and other appendices do not count toward the total number of pages. Incomplete applications will not be scored. The submission, instruction, and samples of the appendices listed on this slide may be found on page 12 of the NGA. Please be mindful of the formatting requirements. The list of requirements included in this PowerPoint slide can be found on page 12 of the NGA. All documents must be submitted as a PDF except for the GFRP budget form and justification, which should be saved as an Excel document. The grantee will be required to submit program and fiscal progress reports quarterly and upon the conclusion of the funded project. The grantee will also be required to participate in monthly calls with L&I staff unless otherwise determined to identify grant progression and receive support. Grantees may be required to participate in a third-party evaluation. Additional information will be provided upon award selection. Now I will turn our presentation over to Megan Garland from our Fiscal Division to review more details of the budget form and justification. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you, Kathy. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I will review several critical items with respect to the budget portion of your grant application. Further details can be found in the Notice of Grant Agreement or on the L&I website. The first thing to note is that this is a reimbursement grant, meaning that we will reimburse you for the expenses you incur upon submission of an invoice with the required supporting documentation. Administrative costs, which are defined in Appendix H, are limited to 10% of the total project budget. Indirect costs, if included, must be supported by a current approved negotiated indirect cost rate agreement signed by the federal cognizant agency or a de minimis justification and attached to the narrative. The budget form is included as Appendix H in the NGA. You must use the Excel version of this document available on the L&I website to submit your budget summary, along with the rest of your grant application. This form has been designated to facilitate accurate budget preparation and later invoicing. Please do not remove the protection on this spreadsheet or make any changes to the formulas. Budgets must be for the full period of performance, in this case, July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. The budget will become the financial basis for any grant award. In addition, you need to include a detailed budget justification as part of your application. This needs to justify each expenditure by line item, itemize each expected expenditure, specifying the item, quantity, and frequency of the expenditure. Provide a justification of why each item is necessary for implementing the project and why the expenditure is reasonable. Please refer to the budget preparation manual found in Appendix H, Budgeting and Invoicing Instructions spreadsheet for additional details on preparing your budget and appropriately classifying expenditures. Please note that this is a separate download from the budget form. More detailed information.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just please note that there is an error on the slide. It says Open Appendix E. That should be Appendix H. My apologies.
Thank you, Kathy.
Mhm.
More detailed information on invoicing procedures and the required supporting documentation will be given to the awardees at the time of finalizing the grant award. The GFRP will be used for invoicing after the period of performance begins on July 1st, 2025. Some examples of supporting documentation are timesheets showing total hours worked and hours worked on the grant. We understand that your organization may not require timesheets for all staff. However, for this grant, you must record actual hours spent working on the grant. Payroll summaries, payroll registers or pay stubs, receipts for purchases, proof of payment. Invoices are typically submitted by the 5th of the following month. Invoices are reviewed in the order in which they are submitted on L&I's electronic invoicing site. And payment will be made by the Commonwealth through ACH deposits, typically within 10 business days of the date we approve the invoice. Thank you, Kathy. Back to you.
Thank you, Megan. Applications are due Monday, February 14th, 2025 by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Completed applications must be emailed to the Grant Services Resource account with the subject line of NGA application-CTRA. After submitting your application, you will receive an automated email response. This is validation that the application was received and should be retained. Sample application documents are included as appendices of the NGA. The application package can be found on the L&I's Grants webpage. That is listed on the bottom of the slide here. And I will copy and paste that at this moment into I will copy and paste it into the comments section upon conclusion of the slides. Additional resources may be found in the links and resources appendix within the NGA, and a 7-minute video is available on the YouTube that provides guidance. I will place that link in the chat also upon conclusion. This is what you will see when you go to the YouTube page, and then you would click the link how to apply for grant funding. After today, if you have any questions about this grant opportunity, please email your questions to the Grant Services Resource account with the subject line CTRA PY24 questions. The deadline to submit questions is January 27th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will compile a list of questions received with answers and upload it to the LNI's webpage, www.dli.pa.gov/grants, within a few days after today's meeting or after the closure of the question and answer session. This concludes the NGA overview of the Certified Registered Apprenticeship Grant Program. At this time, I'm going to stop the recording